to be here as part of this esteemed panel. I'm presenting actually on behalf of our CEO, Mr. Sanjeev Verma, who couldn't be here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of our experience working with police forces around the world. Just as a very quick introduction, Steria is European in origin. We are Paris headquartered. We are about 1.8 billion euros in size as a company, and we are 20,000 people. A quarter of those people live and work in India, so we are part European in vintage and part Indian in heritage. So that's the combination of strengths we bring to serve markets like India. We've had a fairly long history serving police forces around the world. So when we wind back into our history of being in our 46th year as a company, 35 of those years have gone serving police forces. We have done work in more than 27 countries, so we understand how local policing must have some specifics while leveraging on some general principles and formula that law and order should require. I'm going to talk a little bit in detail of a rare public-private sector partnership we've done with a large police constituency called the Cleveland Police, where we have a 10-year contract to help Cleveland focus on frontline policing, basically taking the grunt work of the police force, including manning the command and control center calls to requisitioning police force, and help them do more value-adding decisions. We are very proud of the fact that we secure European borders from illegal immigrants and for people who don't have a legitimate Schengen visa for entry to Schengen countries on the back of a fundamental platform that we've enabled, that many Schengen visa countries can collaborate exchanging information on criminals and such illegal immigrants. And finally, I think we are also proud of the fact that we proprietarily own one of the fastest biometric algorithms in the world that help indict a person in case of crime and help very quick match of fingerprints even in a latent situation. So very quickly, that's very simply representing what we do. We work with police forces, emergency forces. It could be fire services as an emergency service. It could be regular criminal law and order policing. And of course, the use of biometrics, both in criminal and civil cases. That's just a very quick representation of our skills. We claim that more than half of the police stations in the UK run on the back of our command and control software. And the fact that London is protected by this ring of iron is something that we are partly proud of. We made a start in India. We built a modern control room for the Kanpur police, and it's about a year old, so we are starting to help improve the perception of the police in front of the public by seen as being a more receptive, approachable, and a more engaging law and order protector. We also control 100% of the Swedish police market, and we have a biometric solutions that span multiple European countries. So let me just talk about Cleveland, something that I alluded to before. So essentially, this is a constituency in the UK. It's got about 500,000 citizens in northeast England. And one of the challenges that the police force had is they clearly wanted the police to be doing more citizen-centric services. So the focus was serving the citizens as customers and, of course, delivering more efficient services. Clearly, in an emergency, you want efficiency of the top order. And also, how do you really get police officers to do real policing work as opposed to administrative work, something that they're usually burdened with, and it's not something that the citizens count off as service. So we entered into a 10-year partnership, a rare partnership, where basically we help them prepare the criminal files, we help in crime management, we essentially match demand and supply of police forces or ammunition or police resources to match requirements of crime that happen in this constituency. And then of course we completely take the burden of doing other back office work through shared services, and that basically takes the costs out of policing and also releases resources where the skills of a policeman count. Net, there are some metrics that show that hopefully get treated distinct value. In the case of the Greater Manchester Police, again as an example, one of the things they had is when they interviewed people they convicted and criminals, they did interviews in police stations. Essentially over time they realized they had more than 1 million tapes. The tapes were not necessarily meta-tag, but I think to your point, very interestingly, the information exists in silos, and therefore essentially what we did is just digitize the data, put it in a searchable format, and then if you host it on a shared infrastructure service, almost like on a cloud service, you can access that information from anytime, anywhere, as opposed to going to that police station and then accessing that record. So clearly, it's information anytime, anywhere, available anyhow, and then just has the multiplier effect in terms of availability and power. In case of the Belgian police, I think we work more on the biometrics side, first helping in building this algorithm that very efficiently captures fingerprints, palm prints, and all that. And then I think the main thing was it integrated with other IT systems, and this has really improved in the precision of searches that happen, so the search time reduces. Clearly, when you're able to nab an offender on the road, you want the biometric algorithm and the search to happen most quickly and efficiently. So that's really the value. And also in terms of resolution, I think it's lifted the whole deal by a different order of magnitude. In case of Eurodac was a system that was applied to protect European borders from illegal immigrants. So clearly there are lots of East Europeans who clearly want very naturally to migrate to the Western European countries, which are seen as places of employment, greater sources of prosperity. And so naturally there are people who either under the badge of being an asylum seeker or otherwise want to come into the EU member states. And so essentially we use the biometric algorithm to ensure that the legitimate asylum seeker was the one who was crossing the border and be ready to be admitted to an EU member state. More recent, as I said, we've done work at the Kanpur police station. We are trying to replicate that exact capability both in Allahabad and Ghaziabad, but it's still work underway. And here again, back to the number that Mr. Basi left us, in Kanpur we are seeing still early stages, we're getting about 4,000 calls. Clearly, I think only about a fifth of that perhaps count for some legitimate follow-ups. But the good part is, initially everyone called a dial 100 number simply because it was available. There were 30 digital lines not available before. Good part is this technology enables us to store and record voice calls for up to 2 years. So there's also an accountability on behalf of the police that they have to take action on a call that's come in. So there's an action taken report. A citizen has a very typical help desk type number that helps him check accountability of the resolution of his case. Long story short, I think that was the Steria story. If I have just a couple of minutes, I just want to play a video that I think will definitely make the story more interesting. I'm sure a picture will tell 1,000 words better than I. So.